Hello chaps and chapettes, and thank you for joining me on this video where I'm going to be talking to you about The Witcher Old World. And I'm going to be talking to you about it and giving you some pointers from a solo point of view, because I've only played this game solo and I've played it 4 times solo. And this video is kind of like to address a question that I have about solo gaming. Is it worth it? Because I mean, board games are designed to be played with other players and not on your own. But does this game work as a solo game? And that's what we're going to be discussing in this video. We're going to talk about my experiences, and we're going to talk about some of the design choices and other things along the road of playing The Witcher Old World. So the question is, why was I playing The Witcher on my own? Well, basically, I just saw that on GameFound that there is a new Witcher game coming called Legacy, which is a kind of big narrative game set in the world of The Witcher, which interests me because I like playing a solo game if it's narrative. For example, the Seventh Citadel, for example, is a perfect example where it's a narrative game that you can play on your own, and it's just a world that evolves and develops, and you find out things, and you go on quests and you do stuff, and you have this kind of big overarching story, and you get to a point and it's the end of the story and you fight the big baddie, and that's it. You've lived out the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so to speak. And I like games like that in a solo mode, compared to a game where basically the game is you play it and then you got to get a good score, and your good score will give you a little medal of honor. Yeah, okay, that's why I'm not keen on solo games. But at the same time, narrative stuff, yes. So I saw that. I don't know very much about the game itself. There's not a lot of information, but it is kind of based on this game. And so, yeah, I started to play this yesterday on my own. My history with The Witcher in general is I was never taken with the video game. I played The Witcher 3 and got so far and thought, no, I don't like this. And then some years later, I started playing it again, and I got to a decision point where it was like, do I rescue the elf in the burning building? And I was like, my conscience said, yes, rescue the elf. But then I could never kill or defeat the humans that were setting fire to the house which the elf was in. And so I quit. And then some years later, I tried again, and I managed to get through the whole story and fell in love with it and the world. And I think that playing it over and over again kind of enforced the characters onto me, and I started to know a bit about the world and the lore, and it was those things that I really liked about the film, about the video game. So good that I went out and bought the series of books, which I am halfway through at the moment with my very, very slow reading. So I am attracted to this world. I like this idea of like this guy who's half human, half abomination, who nobody likes in the real world, but they pay him to hunt down monsters which are causing havoc. But not all of those monsters, very like Star Trek, are there to just kill humans or fuck up their lives, but they are there to live their lives and do what they've been doing for centuries, until humans come along and conquered their land. But yeah, that's what I like about the Witcher universe, and that's what's drawn me to this game. And as I said, this one that's going to come up on Game Found Soon. So the solo mode of the game is pretty much the same as when you're playing with multiple players. The differences are there's no interaction. You don't have the ability to fight another Witcher to get a trophy and to gain a special ability. You don't have the ability to gamble against the other Witchers or them to gamble against you, which, you know, could be a little bit of chaos. You lose money if you're not lucky with the dice rolls. And there's also the interaction with the market of cards, which you're going to be drafting into your deck, so to speak. That will change a little bit more often, unlike in solo mode where it doesn't change at all. So in regards to the solo mode, how it is different from the main game with other players is that you have a challenge. Your challenge is to defeat the 3 monsters that you set the game up with, and also to achieve your special card there by leveling up one of your 4 stats to its level 5 and then meditate to get that. And you need to do it in the most efficient way possible, and then you check your grading according to the rule book and how cool you are. So I mean, yesterday I played it and I got it in 11 turns, which means that I can be relied on. If I did it in 6 and less, then I would have been a living legend. So you're basically playing against this table, and so you're trying to get, as I said, the game completed in as few turns as possible. Now, it had been a while since I last played the game, and so I had to get myself reacquainted with the rules. There are some rules which were in my mind from previous games. So like the movement on the board is basically you play a card which has one of the 3 icons on it: water, forest, or mountain, and then you can move to that location and then perform the action at that location, which is simple and clear. The fighting, the combat, is basically the cards in your hand. You can combo them together because they have this chain of colors, and you can create big combos as the game goes on and you get better cards into your deck. And at the beginning of the game, you can't really do many combos. And the other important thing for me that I remembered was exploring, which gives you these story moments where you can gain things or lose things depending on the choices that you make. And I really like that part. So getting acquainted with the game again meant I had to read through some of the rules to learn the flow chart of things that were not kind of evident, like combat. It's like there is a certain flow for combat. The first thing you need to do is create your deck, which is your life points, which is a nice mechanic. You also have to create the monsters deck, which is their life points, and you're basically just trying to whittle down their life points before they whittle down your life points. Great mechanic, thematic, it works. But along the way of playing the game, there were questions which would keep coming up. You know, what happens if I lost the fight? What happened if I lost the fight and the monster only had 1 card left? What happened if I won the fight? So those things I had to keep going back to the rulebook for. Other things that I had to go back to the rulebook for was the trail tokens and the trail quests. These were impossible to find immediately. It took me many flick throughs and looking at this reference and looking at that reference to figure out what taking a trial token would do or taking a trial quest would do. They're basically the kind of same thing, but with no efficient, way of posting it in the book. It made it hard. Another reason I had to keep going back to the rule book is I could not explain the icons on my player board for my character, which was speed. I still can't figure it out how the words correspond to the icons. What does the eye icon mean? I could not find that. I could see the hand icon on the card, and normally that means you add 2 cards to your hand or you draw 2 cards. But what was the eye icon? Why was it 3 when the hand icon was 2? I couldn't find any reference that helped me clear this up, so I played practically without this power. Now, there are reference cards in the games which do help you play out your game quite easily. Once you know the rules, it comes quite fluidly, and you just look at a few keywords and you go, yeah, that means that. But there are some things on the card which had me scratching my head again. So let's just go through a player's turn. On your turn, you move You'll move by playing one of your Witcher cards, which has, I said, has the icon on the bottom, which means that you can go to that adjacent location. And then you can do the action of that location. Now, some of them, again, are burnt into my brain. You level up a statistic, your attack, your defense, your special power, or your alchemy. And all that is kind of self-explanatory, and after a little while the icons on your player board do make sense to you. And you can do this as many turns as you want until you run out of cards, or you can save some cards, especially if you want to fight a creature at the end of this turn, which goes into your phase 2. Your phase 2 is you can fight a monster in your location. So a battle will begin. A battle is basically simply you will take your discard and your draw deck, shuffle them together, keep the cards in your hand, and then you will start fighting. You will create the monster deck. From the monster, each monster has its own life points, so you draw that many monster cards and make a deck with that. And then they also have a special power which activates immediately, so it kind of like handicaps you for the first turn or so. You can meditate, which will gain you a trophy, but again you can only meditate if you have one of your stats at its level 5. Which is, yeah, it's kind of a pointless action. I feel that, you know, maybe if you meditate like 3 or 4 times during the game, no matter what your stats are, you can then unlock that power, which I think would have been a much more interesting thematic thing. But as it stands, it's like, okay, you get your maximum power and then it unlocks something else. As you can tell, meditate is not something that I do a lot. And in a solo game, you only do it the once. Just to unlock that one trophy, which will then win you the game. And then you have Explore, which is you take a card from either the village deck or the city deck, and it has a bit of flavor text, a story, and then you'll be left with a choice of A and B. And both of these are very nice. They feel like Witcher stories. They feel like the Witcher universe, which I love and adore. And then you get some kind of benefit if you chose wisely, or if you chose poorly, you may lose something but also gain something at the same time. So they're not really punitive. Before getting to the third phase, which is discard. So you can discard the cards left in your hand if you wish, and then you get to draw 3 new cards into your hand, and you get to take a card from the pool. Now the cards come in three values. So you have zeros, which means you can just take them for free. You have the 1 value, which means you have to discard 1 card from your hand to put that card in your hand. And then you have values of 2, which means you have to discard 2 cards to put that card into your hand. Now I was, again, rulebook, I was a bit lost on if these cards that I took from the pool went into my hand or into my deck or into my discard, because there's one phrase which said that they will go into your deck. And I was like, okay, so does it go on top of my deck or does it go in my discard? But then you read later on that it goes into your hand. So confusing rulebook, threw me out. But once you know, it's there. Retaining it, if you play this game in a year's time, may be a problem. I want to talk about the 3 main best bits for me personally are the movement phase. For example, number 1, the movement phase. Playing a card to move to a location is cool. It's simple. Maybe a bit too simple for this game, because there is these really thematic moments of the fighting and the explore cards and even quests, which you can get as well. But it just feels weak. It feels like a very small kind of Euro game where you move to a location, you can do the action there, which most of the actions are level up your character sheet. Yay, that was easy and unthematic. Again, there's no real purpose for why this city you can level up your strength, and in this city you get a free potion. Why you go to Vizimir, and if you've got no money, you get 1 money, and then you can burn 2 cards from the pool. There's no story element for why that is there. There is one useful in Venderberg where you can burn a card from your hand to draw a card from the pool. That's a great power, but it's limited. But as I said, most of them are go there, level up one of your 4 attributes. You've of course got the 5 different schools of The Witcher where you can pay to level up, and if you're in your school you can pay to level up your special ability. I mean, practically this should be free, maybe, but yeah, this whole kind of movement thing is kind of cool but kind of weak at the same time, with no explanation for why you're going there and why this power is effective. I mean, I like the fact that if you can go to Dole Death, you can talk to the villagers. They will pay you a coin, which is money, great. And then you get to go on a little hunt for a monster. And so you'll take a trail token and look at the number and then put that trail token on the board, and then, or put it on your board, sorry. And then you need to go to that location to become a trail token, and this trail token will then be useful for the combat, which I'll go into now. The combat is great. You're using your deck to create combos, and it does feel interesting. I like the mechanic of whittling down your cards to be knocked out, or whittling down the monster's card to win them as a trophy. Great idea. I like the fact that your character has cards which can combo. So you'll have a yellow card with a little blue tab, which means that you can tab a blue card next to that. And it's not always attack, attack, attack. Some of them are defense, some of them let you draw cards, some of them let you discard cards, some let you draw cards from the discard pile, and some of them will let you draw more cards or less cards. And they're all variable powers. And this is a fun thematic game to play, because yeah, in that regards you can combo your exploding shield with your Yardin, your precise blow and your push, and do some great damage to your monster, and then you discard those amount of cards from the monster's deck, and then you reveal the monster's card, and then the monster has 2 attacks, a bite and a charge, and you roll your dice to decide which one it does. And these are normally just like you'll lose X amount of points, which means that you discard cards from your draw pile into your discard pile. And when you've got no cards in your discard pile, you discard cards from your hand. But before that, that needs to go through your defense. So if you've got some shield, you lose the shields first, and then you start discarding cards from your draw pile and your hand. Again, I like this. And then because sometimes you'll have a green defense card which will give you shield back at the end of your turn, so you will stave off a bit more of attack for the next turn, which I like. Sometimes it's good to have that card which lets you draw the top card from the discard pile, because there's you've just played a really cool powerful 3/ card which chains with a yellow card, which you can then use to combo the cards that you got, and you got a yellow card in your hand. Cool. And that's exciting, that's thrilling. It's like, how do I play this? That becomes a interesting puzzle part of the game, unlike the movement, which is just like, I need to go there, level up that, I need to go there, level up that, I need to go there, level up. Have I got the cards to do it? Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, this combat system is really good fun. Again, there's some cards from the monster which will scale with you. So if you've got level 3 shield, it will say you take X amount of damage if you got level 2 shield, or if you got level 3 shield, or you got level 4 shield, etc., etc., which feels good. There's a card that scales with your character. Just about in, because I forgot to talk about this, is that the trail tokens are a very important thing to have, because in combat always starts with the monster hitting you, removing some cards from your deck, and then you hit it back, removing some cards from its deck, and this goes on and on and on until one of your decks has been depleted. And this can be very, very intense due to the fact that there's been times when the monster just wipes out the few good cards in my hand, and I'm left with just like 1 or 2 cards which just do a little bit of damage but don't quite knock his last few cards out of his hand. Therefore I lose and become unconscious. The trail tokens give you the advantage of attacking first, which is always a good thing, because as I said, most battles, sometimes you're left with nothing to hit the monster back, and then they hit you and it's finished for you, so to speak. So trail tokens, very important, and they just add that extra element to these tense battles. Oh, wow, are they tense. Anyway, let's just change the subject a little bit, and I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, Game Toppers. They make these really elegant toppers, which is a table which sits on top of your table. It's just two plinths that slip together and they don't move. They create this sturdy surface. They have this rail which goes around, which is nice and comfortable to rest your arms on. You can slot your cards in there or tiles in there. They come with trays which you can hold your components, and also there's these interchangeable mats which give you these really thematic feel to your games. They're easier to set up and they're a lot cheaper than buying a real gaming table. Thank you, Game Toppers. Go and check out all their stuff that they do on the links below. And I also want to say thank you to Board Game Geek. They don't sponsor me, they don't pay me. I just want to thank them for being there because they are a great resource for board games. They have everything catalogued, so any game that you want to look for is there. And you also have people like myself there telling you what they think about these games, and so it's a great resource to narrow down that perfect game for you by listening to all these other reviewers and all these other people that have played these games to find out if it is a game for you. And that's what we're doing. And now back to the video. And the third mechanism which I really like about this game is these exploration cards. Because as I said earlier, you draw one, you read the text, you have a choice of A and B, and it is like reading a Witcher story or playing the Witcher video game. These little scenarios, the wording is really good. There's enough clues in there to go, okay, no, you know what, I'm going to go with B because there's that key word in the story, which is, yeah. And you will get some easy benefits from it. Now, some of these exploration cards will actually set you up on a quest. So you'll have to take a quest card, or you put a location token, a trail token out on a location, and you need to go there. And then that will unlock this card, which has again another kind of scenario with an A or B choice. And then that might be the end of it, or it might lead you to another quest card. And these quest cards are numbered 1 to 56, and they have like a kind of like a chaining little story for you to follow, which can be fun. But again, you're digging randomly through a deck of cards to try and get a card. And I've just had a quick flick through, and there's some items that you can actually gain which give you some benefits throughout the game. And I've never had any yet, but yeah, that's quite interesting. And again, I like that because it does feel like you are in a adventure. You are a Witcher doing something, and it feels important because the words kind of build the story and give you that kind of, you know, role-playing aspect of the game, unlike the movement phase, which is just very abstract Euro. So yeah, I like that. Those are the three main mechanics which stick out to me about this game and which I will always remember. The deck building, which you could say is the fourth mechanic, kind of is neither here nor there, especially in a solo game, because these cards are not going to cycle very much. And so you might have shuffled really badly and just have like a row of zero value cards, which means you're not really leveling up your hand to a good deck of cards. You do have that one location which will let you burn a couple of these cards, but you don't want to be wasting your time just going back and forth from there from turn to turn. And again, each location on the map can only be used once per turn. So even if you do play yo-yo, you can only do that village action once, that city action once. I say village, it's a city. So as a solo game, it works. You can play it and it kind of feels, you know, personal to you. You have these different phases, the movement, the exploration or the fighting, and then your deck building added on, which is, yeah. Again, going back to the deck building, I didn't really feel like I was building a good deck. It was a case of willy-nilly, just guessing that this card might be useful to me because it changed this color. This one changed all four of the other colors to that card. Is it usable? Will I, or is this one with just chaining to purple? Have I pulled too many of them already? So I'm chaining to purple card and then I get to a purple card and it's like it doesn't change to anything else that I've got because all these cards are the same color, and it's like you just kind of just take any card. You take the cheapest one, the most effective one, which has does the most damage or has the most powers, will change to the most other cards, whatever you want. It didn't really feel. I didn't feel the motivation to go one way or another. It was a case of just take that card because it's there, take that card because it's there. Unlike with other deck building games, where it's like in Thunderstone, you go, okay, right, I'm going to get lots of that weapon and a couple of those characters because I feel that that'd be a good combo in my deck. In here, that everything is good to an extent, but it's like, and then you got to factor in the fact that maybe it's got locations that you haven't got many of in your deck, so forests or mountains. So it's just remembering all that, and there's nowhere in the rules that says, oh, when you draw a deck from the pile there, you can look through your deck to see if it will complement your deck or not. And so it's a case of, well, maybe I can look through my discard, but there's nothing to say you can or you can't. So what do you do? Now, the production values of the game are probably worth every penny. Again, this is just the base game that I have with just the 5 heroes. There's no monster tokens, miniatures, sorry. There's no monster miniatures. They're just tokens that are put on the board, which can be a little bit hard to see sometimes, especially if you keep adding monsters if you were playing a normal game. But the artwork, the card quality, I love the card quality. You know, they feel really slick. The boards, the player boards with the recesses in them which hold the cubes, excellent. They also have recesses on the back so you can slide cards underneath. So they have their own designated slot. I like it. That's great. The fact that the board has the 1, 2, 3 for the 3 phases of the game, I didn't even notice. Again, the iconography for in the middle, I didn't even notice, don't rarely use. It doesn't really do anything. And the other thing is with the board that, yeah, you've got a designated slot for these cards to be stacked up on. So you've got the draw pile for the attack cards. You've got a draw pile for your explore and your quest cards. And then you've got off the board a space for your potions and a space for your special abilities that you can learn. But you've got no space for your monster cards, and you've got no space for any of the discard piles which are going to generate over the course of the game. And it's like, well, why put that on the board? Why not just have, you know, like what we have here with the potions and the special XP, or what's it called? Attributes, that's the word. See, I had to check the rule book for the word. The attributes, you got these little slots. Why couldn't they just be around the board and then have just the main board, the map and the monsters? But hey ho, it is what it is. It's good quality. It comes in these wonderful game trays. Another benefit. So money wise, you can see where the money went. It went into the art, the quality of the cards and everything, the boards, the nice thick chunky coin tokens, really good. Again, I don't understand why some are gold and some are silver. There's nothing in the rule books to say that the silvers are worth 1 and the golds are worth 5. Not that you're going to be earning that much money, because you will be spending it on doing things. But yeah, it's what it is. It's great quality, but is it a great game to get just to play solo? Now, I mentioned the objectives for the solo game is just to do all the things, kill 3 monsters, and then get your special attribute by meditating, by getting your thing to level 5 as quick as possible. And that's it. It's rinse and repeat. You could say play with different characters. They all have one special power which is different, but that doesn't really affect your game playing style that much. As like, say, other games where you have a character which rolls 1 extra dice, or you have a character that has special cards which the other characters don't have. This kind of is a power which is neither here nor there. Again, just looking through the rule book, the powers, it's like they don't make much sense. and then you've got to compare it to the icons which are on the board. But yeah, they're kind of neither here nor there. They give you some extra cards when you're in fights, or they let you do something if another player discards. Yeah. And again, you could say that, yeah, maybe the 3 starting monsters will be different because they have different life points and they have a different kind of power, which will handicap you in the fight at some point. Not enough reason to come back and play this again and then again and again and again. The only reason to come back and play it again and again is just to do it in as fewer turns as possible. And if that's your thing, cool. If it's not your thing, then you're like me. And yeah, it's fun to play solo, primarily to learn the rules, so that when you play with other people, you can explain it more fluidly than the rulebook can. And then you can just go bang. So there you go. It is a good game. It's got some great little mechanics and great ideas. You have these things which are really thematic and really cool, and then you have these things which are just like, what? It's just a Euro, a brainless cube pusher. They're combined, but hopefully when they do a future, this Legacy Witcher, they will make it all so it's like the really cool thematic, cool stuff, and not the Euro wishy-washy stuff, which people do like. I like Euros, but it doesn't work in this game. Solo mode is fun a few times and then that's it. You don't want to play it solo anymore. Definitely going to be interesting to play with other players, and I've heard stories that it takes longer and longer the more players you have, obviously because these take the longest time is reading this and making a decision from the explore cards. But I hear that, you know, there's a lot of interaction with playing poker dice. That's another thing that I didn't talk about. It's just a hit and miss thing. You roll the dice, you save what you want, and then re-roll if you want to try and get a hand which would give you lots of money. Yes, having lots of money can be useful, especially if you go to a school to level up. But that's it. It's neither here nor there. It's an added mechanic which kind of does nothing really much. And there you have it. That's what I think of The Witcher, The Old World, as a solo game. It's good to play a couple of times and great to learn the rules before you teach it to someone else. And that's about it. Yeah, it's a great game, probably with 2 or 3 players. And I look forward to playing it with 2 or 3 players in the future, hopefully. And there you go. That's my video. That's my thoughts. If you like this video, give it a like. If you know someone that might appreciate my words of wisdom, share this video with them. But as I say, don't always take my word. Go and look at other reviewers as well, see what they say. This is just my point of view from what I've experienced with the game, and obviously someone else may have totally different views, and there may be some views which we agree on, which then you can go, okay, yeah, I like that about the game, so I'm going to trust your words of wisdom there. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Ciao for now. And remember to please play nicely with each other. Just sitting at the table next to Felicia.